Arnold Schwarzenegger is confirming his choice for the White House. The Republican and former California governor announced his decision to vote for Kamala Harris and Wals in the 2024 election.
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't usually put much weight on celebrity endorsements for a number of reasons, but this one from Arnold Schwarzenegger might just be one of the most well thought out and impactful ones we've seen this election cycle. It's just a shame that Arnold Schwarzenegger decided to utterly terminate the current MAGA Republican Party so late in the game, but after we break down this lengthy and now viral half Harris endorsement, half Trump takedown, I think you'll agree that maybe we can cut him some slack. Now look, I get it, celebrity endorsements are weird and funny things. On one hand, do we really need a bunch of out-of-touch rich people's opinions on who to vote for? Probably not. But on the other hand, celebrities have massive reach with often die-hard, impressionable followers. Think Swifties. Yeah, a bit over the top, but you gotta respect the passion on some level, especially when Swift's endorsement of Harris earlier this year primarily focused on getting young fans registered and excited to vote. And it worked.
Now, since her Tuesday night endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, it's being shown in civic engagement. Swift shared a link to vote.gov. It got more than 405,000 site visits in the 24 hours since her post, up from the 30,000 visitors a day it had gotten in the days prior.
And sure, Schwarzenegger's now viral post that we'll break down in a second here comes pretty late in the game. You can still register to vote in person up until November 5th, but frankly, I would have liked to see him put out this post with the same level of urgency that he had with his response to Trump's insurrection in 2020.
President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president.
But Schwarzenegger did take to Twitter today to make this post that, bear with me, starts a little rocky but then gets real good. I don't really do endorsements. I'm not shy about sharing my views, but I hate politics and don't trust most politicians. I also understand that people want to hear from me because I am not just a celebrity, I am a former Republican governor. He then talks about his time as governor, respecting policy over politics, and adding that insulting the other party is not a way to win elections. Later adding, let me be honest with you, I don't like either party right now. My Republicans have forgotten the beauty of the free market, driven up deficits, and rejected election results. Democrats aren't any better at dealing with deficits, and I worry about their local policies hurting our cities with increased crime. Though, just a quick fact check there, courtesy of factcheck.org, in a post updated last week that notes crime rates are still declining and have been since 2020. And then a revision to the FBI data this year doesn't change that overall trend, despite claims made on social media by the Trump campaign to the contrary. And so naturally, at this point, I was getting pretty disappointed at Arnold's sheer ambivalence and attempts to compare the two parties. But before we get into the part where this really ramps up, I want you to consider who he's really trying to reach out of the now nearly 20 million people that saw this post. And we'll circle back to that with another former Republican's brilliant takedown of Trump from today. But check out how Schwarzenegger absolutely goes in from here.
Explaining in a lengthy and searing social media message on October 30th that despite his party affiliation, he believes the Harris ticket is the best way to, quote, turn the page away from what he called, quote, 4 more years of BS should Donald Trump get reelected. To someone like me who talks to people all over the world and still knows America is the shining city on a hill, calling America a trash can for the world is so unpatriotic, it makes me furious, he wrote in part, an apparent reference to Trump's recent rally comment in which he called the U.S. a, quote, garbage can for the world.
It's like, I said this, the press gave me a hard time on this one. They said it was very no, I don't think it's disrespectful. It's like we're a giant garbage can.
Schwarzenegger clarified that he has issues with both Republican and Democratic policies and disagrees with much of Harris and Walz's platform. But despite wanting to, quote, tune out from the political discourse, he noted that he is ultimately an American first. I'm sharing it with all of you because I think there are a lot of you who feel like I do, he wrote of his rare public endorsement, adding, you don't recognize our country, and you are right to be furious. The action movie icon didn't hold back when offering his take on what another Trump presidency could look like, writing, We should be pissed. But a candidate who won't respect your vote unless it is for him, a candidate who will send his followers to storm the Capitol while he watches with a Diet Coke, a candidate who has shown no ability to pass any policy besides a tax cut that helped his donors and other rich people like me but helped no one else, a candidate who thinks Americans who disagree with him are the bigger enemies than China, Russia, or North Korea, that won't solve our problems.
And he really hammered it home after that portion, capping it all off with, it will just be 4 more years of bullshit with no results that make us angrier and angrier, more divided and more hateful. We need to close the door on this chapter of American history, and I know that former President Trump won't do that. He will divide, he will insult, he will find new ways to be more un-American than he already has been, and we, the people, will get nothing but more anger. Vote this week, turn the page and put this junk behind us. And even if you disagree with me, vote, because that's what we do as Americans. And that's why I think this may be one of the best celebrity endorsements, because even though I, and I'm sure many of you, find it utterly repulsive and moronic that anyone would even consider supporting Donald Trump, there are unfortunately so many misguided people who do or who blindly do for all the wrong reasons. So bridging this gap with a carefully calculated across-the-board appeal to even former Republicans who may feel disillusioned with their own party is probably the most impactful way to go about it. We've seen that work already with organizations like Republican Voters Against Trump, and most recently and arguably most brilliantly with George Conway's Anti-Psychopath PAC. And as I said earlier, here he is today combating MAGA lunacy on C-SPAN to a MAGA caller who is offended by Biden's garbage comments and George referring to Trump as a fascist, which is the most snowflake response possible, and the irony is not lost on me. But just watch how George handles this interaction and brilliantly dismantles the caller's criticism.
Trump, to call Trump a fascist, calling his supporters fascist. I'm not a fascist. I'm a freedom-loving Republican. And for you to say that Trump supporters are fascist is just wrong.
I didn't say Trump supporters are fascist. I think they may be supporting a fascist. Sir, okay, I was a Republican from 1980 to 2018, okay? I don't want to see a Republican Party led by a fascist, but he is a fascist. He cannot help but be a fascist. His personality disorders make him a fascist. He does not care about anyone else. He does not care about the rule of law. He does not care about justice. He does not care about right and wrong. He's a criminal. He's a convicted criminal, 34 counts. He stands charged with many other counts in which I really don't think he has much of a defense. He's an adjudicated sexual abuser. He is a bad man. And why all of you out there seem to want to excuse him and pretend that reality is something other than what it is and what you want it to be is the problem. And I don't say that you're garbage because of that. I think you need to look in the mirror someday and start thinking about, is this man the man you want your children or your grandchildren to emulate?
And I don't know about you, but I don't want anyone in my family or otherwise emulating Donald Trump. And speaking of you, I am curious to hear all of your thoughts in those comments down below. What do you think of Schwarzenegger's post, his position? Did it end up coming around in the end for you? Do you think it's too little too late? Let me know all those thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, share, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Stay safe this election season. And for Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.